from people in the department saying, don't forget to record. So I need to start this up. Okay. So as I was saying, OneDrive, you get 5 terabyte of storage per user, which is somewhere between 10 and 20 times the storage on your local device. Okay, so we're talking about a lot of space. And for most of us, I would say almost every one of us, we will never hit the end of that 5 terabyte. When I first started this job, it was 1 terabyte. And now it's gone up to 5. So I would imagine that, you know, as demand grows for space, you know, Microsoft will just up that for everybody as time goes on. But the department itself has a lot more space. Now, you may have heard of a thing called SharePoint. SharePoint is the cloud storage space, right? It used to be local storage space. You could have SharePoint on premises, but now we talk about SharePoint in the cloud. And SharePoint is basically the space for the entire school or the space for the entire department, right? For the entire state. You have a little piece of that space, and that's called OneDrive, all right? And this is for you. And I want you to imagine that there's a little fence around your OneDrive space, and nobody can get in and nobody can, you know, see your files, etc., unless you share permissions with them. Now, remembering, like I said to you before, yes, there are department IT people that have the keys to the kingdom that can go in and have a look at what you're doing. So please keep that in mind, that it's not entirely private for you personally, all right? It's still got department eyes and department access on it. But by and large, this is your space and you can do with it what you want. So I'm going to show you, actually, we're going to come back a little bit. I'm going to show you how to access OneDrive. For those of you that were lucky enough, to have your dual screen, or if you know how to split your screen, it would be really good to watch what I'm doing, but also play along, right? So maybe have, you know, two windows open, one to watch what I'm doing and one to have a bit of a play. So can you guys see my screen here with my pointer? Yep. Okay. So when I come into my Office 365 start page, one thing I forgot to mention before we jump into OneDrive is you can personalize it a little bit. See this little wheel up here, this little settings wheel. When you click on that, you can change your theme. Okay, so there's a whole heap of different themes there. So let's make mine crayons, or I could make mine strawberries, or whatever it is that I want to do. And you can also turn it into dark mode. Okay, dark mode's good because it saves, it's better on your eyes, but it also saves your laptop battery and that kind of thing as well. But you can get in there and have a bit of a play and change that around. All right. Now, when I come into my office.com start page and I've signed in with my LearnLink or my education, if you're in Victoria, education email address, once I'm in there, I get a little bit of a OneDrive window anyway, right? So this is actually showing my files and bits and pieces, right? So I've got recommended documents, which are probably documents that I've sort of used more recently or colleagues are using. And then you can see here, I've got all my documents, my recent documents, shared favorites, etc. Right? So there is a bit of a OneDrive window on your landing page. But what I want you to do is when we're in Office 365, can you see up here, I've got this little app launcher, right? Don't confuse that with the Google app launcher if you're in Chrome, which I think sits just above it, right? But this is the Microsoft Office 365 app launcher. When I click on it, here's my apps, right? Here's my main apps. But if I click here on all apps, I'm going to see absolutely everything that's available to me, all right? So what I did to see that was whenever I'm in 365, if I click on the app launcher and then come down here to all apps, I get to see everything. And there's a whole lot more there than you probably were expecting. Some things you've never seen before, you don't know what they are. Some things you will never use. Others, hopefully, you'll start to use as you learn about them and move into the space. And there's a lot of really good stuff there. But nevertheless, what we're going to do is we're going to play around with OneDrive. All right, so I'm going to click here on OneDrive, which is this little blue cloud. All right, so when we see the blue cloud, that's OneDrive. How many people is it for? It's for one. It's OneDrive. It's your space. All right, so I'm going to click on that and open up OneDrive. And you can see here it's got OneDrive for Business written up here. Okay, and now it's My Files OneDrive as it starts to load. So I'm not playing today in the Victorian government tenant. I'm not, which is the Victorian government 365 space. I'm not playing in the South Australian education 365 space either, right? We call that a tenant. I do have access to both, but I thought it would be, because we're all, coming in from different spaces, I didn't want to leave anybody out. So I'm coming into another one, right? But when I come into OneDrive, you can see here, as soon as I click on it, I've got some stuff over here. I've got My Files, I've got Recent, I've got Shared, and I've got Recycle Bin, right? And then I've got Shared Libraries. So these would be my teams and other things as well, right? Don't so much worry about that because we're going to explore that when we look at teams, all right? But you can see here, I've got a ribbon across the top here that lets me create new things, right? So I can create new folders and new documents and even links. I can put those into OneDrive as well. I can upload files, I can sync, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and then I can also do automated processes, right? But when we're in My Files, you can see here, these are my folders and these are my files. So it's just like, when we come into our little that little yellow folder, the little My Documents file manager. For those of you that are on a PC and those of you that are on a Mac, then we're talking about Finder. It looks just like that, except it's a web version, right? So who wants to come off and tell me how many copies of my files are backed up and where? Who wants to come off mute? You need to come off mute if you're talking.
Is this one where there are 3 backed up copies in Sydney and 3 in Melbourne?
Perfect. Yeah. If we were in a face-to-face meeting, I'd give you some sort of highlighter or something, but I don't have any to give you. Sorry. But exactly right. 3 copies in Sydney, 3 copies in Melbourne. Right. So I'm looking at this. Sure, it's one single pane of glass. It's one window, of course. But there's 6 copies. Right. So I've got my folders and I've got my documents. All right. Now I can, as I said before, I can create directories and subdirectories. I can create new documents and all that kind of thing. Or if I've got something on my computer that I want to throw up into OneDrive, I can do that as well. Now we are going to come and look at syncing to our local device in a minute, but I want to take you through and show you some of the cool things that you can do. So if I open up this folder, let's go into here, aka.ms today stuff. All right, and let's go into research. And here I've got a whole heap of documents. Okay, and you can see the last time I played with these, I don't play in this space very often, was 2019. All right, now let's have a look at this inclusive classroom case study. If I hover over the ellipses, the 3 dots, right, you can see what it does is it brings up a little info window for me, tells me basically, gives me some information about the file without having to open it. But if I click on the ellipses, the 3 dots, it gives me a whole heap of options and things I can do. So it's much more than backing up and collaboration. I can open the document, I can preview the document, I can share it with someone else, I can copy the link and share that out, in an email or something like that. I can manage the access. If someone's already got access to it, I can control that. I can download another copy to my local device, I can delete it, I can move it, I can copy it, etc. And I can also set up these automated processes, right? So, and please, this is Power Automate, which is beyond what we're doing today, but the ability to be able to do some really cool things with the file. But over here, I've got version history. And this is the one I want to share with you. And that's a bad example because there's only one. But if I'd had multiple versions of this file, like every time I open it and close it and I make changes, what will happen is I will get a list of all the previous versions of my document down here. Now, I'm just going to try and find you one that's maybe been opened more recently. Let's try demo tools. Here we go. Grade 3 writing was opened February 22nd. So let's open that. It's probably more recent. Let's go into version history. Nope, still 1 copy as well. Yeah, okay, bad example. But nevertheless, if I'd made changes to this document over a period of time, it will start to keep those documents there. So what that means is if I make changes to the document and then later on go, oh, no, I want to go back to the original version, I could come into one of these versions here and I could open that, I could restore that, I could make that the supreme version now. I could even just open it grab some bits and pieces and bring it back into the original document. Do you understand what I'm saying? You've got all these older versions of the files that you can be manipulating, right? So we're not just backing it up as in one copy, we're actually keeping a history of your backup as well. All right. So if I shared a document out with my students and one child went in and erased everything by accident or even on purpose, I could go to yesterday's version and bring that up. All right, which is really cool. So it's not just about copying and backing it up. It's also the stuff that we can do with this, which makes it really useful. So that's in My Files. Now, the other thing we've got over here, we've got a nice little feature called Recent. Now, what Recent does is it's going to bring up my most recent documents, right? So if I've got things that I'm using all the time, I don't have to go and hunt down into what folder and what subdirectory and all this. I know that I come in here, here's the documents that I've been using most recently, right? And so it just makes it easier for me to find them. I've also got shared documents, okay? Shared's important, right? Now, the first thing that we notice up here is popular around you, right? So inside my tenant, documents that I have access to, someone else has shared them or they're in Teams or whatever, that other people are using a lot, Microsoft 365 will intuitively bring those to your attention, right? Because it might be something that you want to use, or it might be something you weren't aware of that everybody else is jumping into, right? So it's sort of FOMO for files. But you can see here, here's all the documents that are shared with me, all right? So documents that are shared with me, the date that it was shared, who it's shared by. You can see sometimes it's an app that's sharing it with me. Sometimes it's a person that's sharing it with me. So these are all the documents that are shared with me. They're not mine. They're not going to live in files, but they are documents that I've got access to. So that's shared with me. But look at this, shared by me is another one, because I may share a document out to a parent, and 6 months later, that parent's still got access to that document and I may forget. So what this does is it shows me these are all the things that you've shared out, and it will also tell me, but you can see I haven't shared this with any individuals, it will also tell me who I have shared them to, all right? And I can remove that access or change that access, etc. Another thing that I like to point out with OneDrive is the recycle bin, okay? So things can be erased from my local device, but still be sitting in my recycle bin in OneDrive. And we have a second stage recycle bin. All right. So it is very hard to lose documents if you're living in OneDrive. You can access them easily on your machine. You can access them in the recycle bin. And then if you've really, really overdone it, then you can go into the second stage recycle bin as well. I can't tell you how long they last in the recycle bin, but it's certainly going to be around the 3-month stage. Don't be looking for it sort of beyond then. All right. So that's what OneDrive looks like in the cloud. Okay. Now, and forgive me, remember how I told you that I do use dark mode. So hopefully you can see this on your computer. But here I have OneDrive on my local device. Okay. So I want to expand a little bit. 3 copies in Sydney, 3 copies in Melbourne, and 1 copy wherever I happen to be. So 7 copies of my data is backed up. All right. So what that means is you look here, aka.ms, apps, class notebooks, da. When I come back into OneDrive, into my files, it's the same thing. All right. So I can access it through the browser, or I can access it traditionally. Those of you that are on a Mac, you can access it through Finder. And those of you that are on a PC, you can access it through your file manager. All right. So if I was to open a document from OneDrive, if I was to open that document now, it will open the document in Word Online. But if I open it from my file manager, it will open it through traditional Word, the fully installed Word, right? And those changes are synced. I can have them both open at the same time, and those changes are synced regardless of which version I open it. Same too if I opened it on my phone, or I opened it on my iPad, or I opened it on another device, excuse me. Okay, so that's what that looks like. Now, see these ticks, these green ticks? Come off mute and tell me, what do you think the green tick means? Go on, have a go.
Yeah, David here. I've got sound and audio. Is it coming through?
We can hear you, David. Excellent.
Okay, so green ticks would mean it's synced across whatever platforms it's on.
Yeah. What the green tick means is it means that it is on this local device and it is in the cloud. Okay. Which means that if I lose internet access, I can still access those files and that documents on this device. Okay. But I want to show you what happens if I change this, and I'm going to say I'm going to free up space on that one there, and look what happens. Now those little arrows, if you can see those, that's saying it's syncing, okay, but it's turning into clouds. What do you think the clouds mean?
That it's only in the cloud?
That it's only in the cloud, which means that I can still see my files. I can click on a document, it will download it. I can open it and do what I want to do. And then when I finish, it will close it up and put it back in the cloud, but it is not stored on my local device, which means if I lose internet, I lose access to those files. Okay. So how do I change it? I just showed you a moment ago. I can right click the document that I'm interested in. I get a drop down. And I've got two choices, keep on the device or free up space. Free up space will obviously put it just in the cloud, but keep on the device, let's click on it. It's syncing. Give it a moment, and in a moment it's going to turn into that green tick. Okay. My internet must be a bit slow. But in a moment that'll turn into the green tick. All right. So here's my question to you people, and please come off mute. Give me some scenarios. Why would I want to have documents on my local device? Why would I want to have documents only in the cloud? What do you reckon? Why do I want to have some documents on my local device and some documents in the cloud?
You got me on that? Got no idea.
Okay, so I'd certainly, in terms of having documents on my local device, I'm going to want them on my local device because if I lose internet access, these are really important documents that I need to be able to access. All right. It also means that if I'm on the bus traveling or whatever I'm doing, I can actually pull out my laptop and I can be working on my documents regardless of 4G and 5G and that kind of thing. All right. So the green tick means that it is on my device as well as the cloud, and I can access it at any time. Why then would I want to have things just in the cloud?
Would that be to save space on your device?
Yeah, exactly right. Your machine will move slower the more files that it has on it. Okay, because basically it's like anything, it has to search through files to open them and all that kind of stuff. So your device is going to move slower if you've got things on there. Also remembering that your device, as I said, has possibly a 10th or a 20th the storage space that we have in the cloud. So you might want to keep things like archive documents and 2015 student work or whatever. You want to keep that in the cloud. You don't want that to be filling up your machine, but you still want to have access to it. As long as you've got the internet, you can draw it down, do what you want and put it back. Does that make sense? Yeah. But my suggestion to you is this. All the documents that are important to you, you want to highlight them all, right click, and always keep on the device. Okay. The documents that are not important to you, again, highlight them, right click and free up space. That one's a bit hard to see. Let's do this one. And free up space. Okay. Any questions about that? So if I'm on another device and I make changes to a document, when I come back onto this device and turn it on and it syncs to the internet, it will make all those changes to my documents. Okay, we don't have to be manually doing this. This is just, you know, in your initial setup, you may want to decide what you want to have in the cloud and what you want to have in the cloud and on your device. Set that up, but then after that, it's all automated. Okay.
Would I be able to ask a quick question?
I'd love you to.
If you're like, let's say that you're working on the same document with a number of people and you want to work on it offline, like it does happen where teachers will work on it offline and then we're both working on it at the same time offline, and then we go online, like which document does it sort of choose to sync to?
Yeah, so yeah, what it will do is it will, what you're heading for there is what we call sync conflicts, all right? And that's going to be issues, right? So if what will often happen is the person who opens the document next, it will actually, M365 will bring up, these are the conflicts that I have, right? And you'll get a little menu dialog which will say these are the conflicts, and you choose which you want to do. My advice is to do your best not to work offline.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that we're always on the document at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it does happen, yeah. And then it'll bring up and say, look, these are the conflicts that I found, and the user has to decide which one they're going to choose.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. That makes sense. Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions?
Can I
about?
ask?
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Yesterday I was trying to sync some of my files from my desktop in my office to my drive so that they would show up when I'm at home, and for some reason they won't sync. Is there a quick troubleshooting thing you can suggest for that?
Yeah, so what happens is when you do your initial sync, right, and you're coming in, if you've got files that have got unusual, like very long names of the files, sometimes it can be different file types as well that are not that basically will create a security risk being uploaded and that kind of thing. So what you really need to do in those instances is, and maybe it's best that I show you down here. Just give me a moment. I'm just going to share my screen again. Can you guys see that? Can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So down here, right, in my taskbar, yours may sit here, mine sits inside here, but I've got my OneDrive, and I can actually go in and double click on that. So let me go into one that is not department. You can see all the stuff I do. If I double click on it, oh, sorry, if I right click on it, I don't know if you guys can see this, but it will actually bring up a little menu and it'll show me the problems that I'm having. And then you have to manually decide what you're going to do with those files.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no quick fix if there's sync issues and that kind of thing. Any other questions? Okay. So the next thing is, how do we get OneDrive to sync with our local device? Let's have a look. Oops, sorry, I shared the wrong screen. Apologies. Okay, so when you come into, now this is true for PC users, not for Mac users. When you come into your computer, when you have a look in File Manager, you're going to see that OneDrive, if you haven't set up, it's just going to call itself OneDrive, right? It won't say OneDrive Department for Education or OneDrive Vic Department for Education or OneDrive Northcote High or whatever it is that yours looks like. If it just says OneDrive, what you need to do is just click on it and it will bring up a dialog window and it will ask you to sign into OneDrive, okay? When it asks you to sign into OneDrive, use your school email address, etc. go ahead and click yes to everything, continue, and open it up. If you've already come in and when you click on it, it's not asking you to sign in, what you need to do is just click on your OneDrive, right click on it, and then come into settings. All right, now I'm going to bring this up here where you guys can see it. So I've opened up my settings, and then here on account, I can add an account. Okay, and that's where you would put in your department ID. All right, but you need to make sure that your whatever work devices you are using, if you're using more than one, you need to make sure that you sign into all of them. All right, so that way you've got access on your local device as well as through the browser. Now, there's another thing that I want to share with you, which is here on this backup tab. This is what we call KFM, or known folder move. Before I get into it, let me explain why this is important. Can you see down here, I've got desktop, documents, downloads, music, pictures, videos, etc. right? Now that's my library. Now, if my OneDrive is not synced, those files, those folders are not being backed up. 3 copies in Sydney, no. 3 copies in Melbourne, no. Just 1 copy on my local device. If I lose my device is stolen, the hard drive gets corrupted, all my files are gone if I'm storing them in here. If I've signed into OneDrive and I'm storing them in my department OneDrive or whatever, those are being backed up. But what we've done is we've made it easy for you to connect and sync desktop, documents, and pictures. In other words, these folders will be thrown into OneDrive and they will be merged and synced with OneDrive. So all your local documents will be uploaded into OneDrive, and then inside OneDrive, you will have a folder called Documents, and that will be the same as this folder here, okay, on that device. If you've got multiple devices, you need to do that multiple times. So what I suggest you do is when you right click your OneDrive to make sure that yours is already doing this, we come down here to settings. So I right click on OneDrive, I click on settings, then this little dialog box opens. Can you guys see that? Yep. And then I come here to backup and then I manage my backup. Now what happens is this little window opens here and it says, do you want to back up this? For the first time, it'll say, do you want to back up desktop, documents, and pictures? I'll say yes and click start backup. Okay, and then that will sync those 3 important folders, which is probably the 3 folders you use the most: desktop, documents, and my pictures. All right, and then that will sync those. Okay, so if you want to have a go at that, let's take a moment. If you haven't signed into OneDrive, open up your file manager. Mac users, you need to download the app and then Google some instructions on how to set it up on the Mac. Sorry, it's been a while since I used a Mac, but there are instructions online. But for the rest of us, make sure that you've signed into OneDrive, and then after you've signed into OneDrive, you can right click, settings, come into backup, and then make sure that you're syncing those 3 folders. Shall I give you some time to do that? Yeah? Okay. What I'll also do is I've got some how to set up OneDrive for your PC and your Mac, how to set it up on your local device. I will grab those links and I will throw them in the chat now.
Troy, Anna here. Mine says the documents folder contains other important folders and isn't supported for file backup.
Oh, okay. So that's probably the way that yours has been set up. So maybe go and see, well, actually, I'll throw a link in which will have some troubleshooting for you.
Okay.
But I'll throw that in a moment.
Yeah, no worries.
So here's your OneDrive setup. Okay, so OneDrive setup for PC. The link is now in the chat. And for Mac users, Oh, excuse me. Throw that in there as well. Known folder move, the KFM. I was just saying that I will share some information for you there as well. There's a link, and remember this is just for the PC, so there's a link there. I will grab that link for you and put it in the chat as well. So this is KFM. Sounds like an internet radio station. There's the KFM link as well, right? So there's information there on how to set up that desktop documents and pictures as well. If you and look, if I was with you right now, you know, the question that you had with the issues, if I was in the same room with you, I could probably sit down and help you. This is just one of those COVID moments where I have to say, oh, I'm sorry. So apologies for that.
Troy, where do I need to right click? Sorry.
Sorry, you've got another speakers on there. Want to try again?
Yeah. Where did I need to right click? Sorry.
For which step?
Well, to go to the settings, I think it was. So I'm in my OneDrive for the department.
Yep. So you're in your OneDrive for the department.
Yep.
So what you do is you right click over here, OneDrive. This is in your file manager.
Yeah.
And then you come down here to settings.
Yeah. And then what?
So what did you want to do? Did you want to back up?
Well, I don't have settings as an option. That's why.
Okay. Have you signed in?
Yeah. Well, it's got all my stuff there. I do actually have two OneDrives. I have OneDrive Department for Education, then I have another one, but I have different files in them.
So one will be a personal OneDrive and one is a your department.
Personal one's underneath.
Yeah. So when you click on, actually, do you want to share your screen so I can see? Do you know how to share your screen?
If you help me share it, I'll share it.
Yeah. So if you hover your mouse. If you come into the window where you can see me, you can see all the people, the video screen. Yeah. You should see a little arrow, like a little square, a little rectangle with an arrow in it. It might be up towards the top, or it could be down the bottom.
Yeah, but it's a grey colour, so.
Oh, it's not letting you share.
No. Only meeting organisers or presenters can share.
Oh, okay. Hold on. So is this you, Stacey? Is that who I'm talking to?
I'm just sitting with Stacey. So
Okay,
it's Fiona. Fiona's sitting with me now.
Okay, so it's Fiona, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just.
Yeah, I just seem to have two OneDrive for the department. So I have like quick access, and then it says OneDrive Department, and then OneDrive Personal.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to have to get you to go and see your techie at school. Because I can't see that, what's going on. Yeah.
All right.
So probably the best.
All right. I regularly see him. It's all good.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So that's OneDrive. Now, I want to share with you a little bit about collaborating. Remember we said if we're living in OneDrive, then we can collaborate, right? So I'm going to go into my OneDrive. And I'm going, can you guys see my screen? Probably not. Let me share again. Now, because we are coming from multiple tenants, right? We're all coming from different states and different places. And I'm in a third tenant. The process of this is much simpler if we're all in the one space. So if I was just, if I was in the Department for Education South Australia and I was sharing with other people, it's going to be much more simple. But because we're coming from three, this is going to seem a little bit more convoluted, but please understand that's because we're all coming from different locations. But I'm going to create a new document, right? So can everyone see my screen with my little pointer? So I'll need you to tell me if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Yep, great. Okay, so I'm going to create a new document. So I click new. I'm going to create a new Word document. And what it does is it's kicked into Word in the browser or Word Online.
Maybe.
Okay.
What are we doing now?
OneDrive, experiment with more.
So we're just going to let this load. It's a little bit slow because of my internet at home. But you can see here, those of you that are using the most up-to-date version of Word, it looks a lot like the Word that we know and love. Okay, and now it's ready to go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, actually I'll make this a little bit bigger so you guys can all see it. I'm going to insert a table, just like I do on Word. I'm going to make it nice and big. Throw a table in there. All right. Now, again, just like very similar to Word, all right? So it's the Word that we know and love. I've got my Home tab, my Insert tab, spell check, all that kind of stuff is there. Now, what I could do is if we were all in the same tenant, if I wanted to share this document for some reason, I can click on share and I can start looking for people in my tenant, right? People in my environment. Now I know that I've got my friend Travis, so I can add Travis to the document. I can also add another friend of mine, Megan, she's in there as well, and I can be adding these people like this, all right? But at the moment, anyone with the link can edit. Now, both the Victorian Department and South Australian Department have disabled this. We can only share with people in our tenant. So in other words, only people in my case, it's MSAU EDU01. In your case, it will be Department for Education, all right? So this will be grayed out. So we can only share with people inside. But the reason I've chosen this tenant today is because I want you guys to all be able to access, right? So I'm going to leave it on anyone with the link. I could send it as read only, but instead I'm going to allow you to edit. I could set an expiration date, meaning that, it'll only work for a certain period of time. I could also set a password if I wanted for an extra level of security and send that in a second email. And I could also block you from downloading a copy of this document, right, if I wanted to. But in this case, I'm allowing for editing. I'm allowing anyone with the link, and I'm going to apply. Now, I could, as I said, be adding you if you were in my tenant, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the link, okay? And if I was to add you, you'd get an email and all that kind of stuff. But instead, I'm just going to copy that and I'm going to stick this in the chat. All right. So in a moment, this is going to appear in the chat. Now, before I paste it in the chat and you all start coming in and creating havoc in my document, I'm going to give you instructions. All right. So boys and girls, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to pick one of these rectangles, one of these fields, and you're going to put your name. You're going to put your 5 favorite foods to eat and your 5 favorite holiday destinations, all inside the one field. All right. So your name, your 5 favorite foods to eat and your 5 favorite holiday destinations. Check the chat in a moment. The link should just have appeared from me, HTTPS. I want you to click on that. That will open the document in your browser, and then you can come in and start doing what I've asked you to do. All right. So we'll see. I'll watch here as people start to appear in the document. Here we go. Fantastic. Now, I'm sorry, the view that's coming through mine is very slow. It's probably my internet, but hopefully on your screen, it's much more immediate. But you can see these these are all guests. But if we were in the same tenant, I could actually see your names and I could see who's doing what. All right. So it's going to be different if we're in the same space. 5 favorite foods to eat, 5 favorite holiday destinations. And then once you finish that, go ahead and try and put a graphic in your field, right? In your window, put a graphic of one of your foods or one of your holiday destinations. And as I said, because we're in this space, when I hover, it just says guest contributor. But if we're in the same tenant, then it would actually come up with your name. And I could also look up here, right? of who's in the document as well. I was going to ask you, Tony, what Tarpina is, thinking it was some sort of food, but you've actually started with your holiday destination, so I'm guessing that's a place. Now, guys, if you don't mind, I'm going to step out and quickly go to the toilet while you continue to do that. But please try and throw some graphics in as well. Ten points to Carleen for putting a graphic in. Anyone else done it? Yep, David's done it. Andrew's done it. Fantastic. Carolyn's done it. Very good. Okay, so being able to collaborate, this sort of collaborative experience can happen on the fully installed version, but it won't be as seamless and won't be as quick. Okay, so that's why I was saying if you're going to be collaborating with people, you're probably going to want to use the browser. If you're doing your own thing, well, you know, you have a choice for sure which way you want to do it, but you can certainly use the full version. Okay, this sort of collaboration can happen, well, this sort of collaboration and other types of collaborative experiences can happen right across the different apps, whether they're online or fully installed. All right, any questions about that? Who's seen this kind of thing before or used this kind of thing before, virtual hands and otherwise? Pop your hand up if you've seen this kind of thing before. Maybe you've seen it on Google, or you've seen it on Microsoft 365. Yep, cool. All right. Anybody got any comments or anything that they would like to say or share before we move on from that? No? Okay. So I do want to encourage you to explore the sharing feature and see what it looks like inside your tenant. You know, you can collaborate with others here today, or collaborate with other people in your school. Please remember, right, that the experience that we're having here, whilst yes, it is a document and we're sharing it with multiple people, if we were going to be sharing a document with a whole heap of people like this, we probably wouldn't do it in OneDrive, we would do it in Teams, okay? Because we don't need to share. It's not living in my personal OneDrive space, it's living in the school's shared team space. There's a lot of reasons why we would do that. And so I want you to remember, whilst you can share and collaborate from OneDrive, OneDrive is more about you, okay? It's your OneDrive, it's like My Documents. But then the shared space, or once upon a time was the T drive or the L drive, that's going to be Teams and or SharePoint. Okie doke. No more questions?
Can I just ask a quick question about OneDrive and setting up, like we're using Teams and I'm basically opening them up in SharePoint, the files, but for some reason I can't see any of the files in the folder class materials with that funny symbol on it. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yep, the one with the little lock.
Yeah, I don't know why that doesn't open up in SharePoint. Is there a reason?
Look, I'm not sure either, but that is actually a locked folder. So maybe that's just a Teams only folder. I know the folder that you mean, and because when the class material folder is created, it gives read and write access to the teacher, but read only access to the students. So it's possibly what it's doing is, because the students could jump into SharePoint and start to manipulate it. So it's possibly saying we're not going to bring that into SharePoint because this is actually a secure folder. I'm speculating as to why that's the case, but yeah.
Okay. But then if teachers want to edit the documents in it, they can't do it in SharePoint.
They have to do it in Teams, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
No worries. Anybody else? No? Okay, so let's talk about Minecraft then. I just need to make sure that I have shared with sound. I'm going to share a video with you now about Minecraft. Sorry for those that are having laggy internet and the videos lag. But this is a nice little video just about Minecraft and how it can be used. So let's jump in and have a look. Just let that load.
Minecraft is changing the way people learn already. It's already having a major effect.
I've described it this weekend as an awakening.
I was truly learning with and from my students.
These teachers see the excitement with the students, the level of engagement. I think it makes them realize that this is what I got into teaching for.
If the kids are so incredibly passionate about this game, there's obviously value in it to them.
It's not that it helps kids learn different. They've been learning that way. They've been learning through gaming. It helps us see the way that they learn different. And I think that is the biggest game changer.
Minecraft is the one tool I found where the collaboration is incredible.
There's a lot of potential where we have students and teachers can come into the same space and interact together.
Hey, wait, is this part right here, this part right here?
When we give them the license and just give them the challenge, we want you to do project X, Y, or Z. Teach us what you know about biomes. Show us a sustainable build. Show us what you know about volume. They're very comfortable in that environment, and it's really powerful to watch that happen.
I've never seen a more empowering tool for kids to use to create.
The students have a lot of ownership. They have a lot of autonomy, a lot of agency in that space.
You talk about the same experiences that computer programming gives, where you're allowed to fail and you're allowed to do things. Minecraft provides that same experience. My favorite line is build a house, and the magic happens when you do that. To walk into the world that a child has created and to see their excitement, to watch their eyes light up. It is something that you honestly have to experience at least once in your life.
They are able to connect what they're doing, their actions, in this seemingly play game environment, but they begin to make connections to their learning. And when they're doing that, you're only bounded by your imagination. The sky's really the limit.
It's so often, I guess, these times in education when we feel like we can't take a leap and do something that isn't planned, that isn't tested, that isn't something that fits into the confines of a textbook. But when you look at kids loving learning and learning that we didn't define, nothing speaks louder than that.
My feeling is let's tap into the way kids learn, let's embrace that and let's bring that into the classroom. And when we can do that, we've really, made something happen.
the dynamic of the classroom has really changed.
It's refreshing to see that kids want to be creative. Kids want to have this just clean, open slate to do whatever they can or want or dream.
That doesn't happen in classrooms normally. But I think more and more Minecraft is going to be able to help people figure out a collaborative digital future that they would have never imagined otherwise.
Okay, and look, before we jump into the Minecraft stuff, I just wanted to also respond. I just noticed Shauna from Mitcham Girls, her message about, I suppose my biggest issue with the collaboration space is when the internet is poor, which is often, this platform is not as helpful. 100%. So I've been working, you guys are in South Australia, I've been working with, in situations like this where people have complained, and there've been South Australian department people on the call who've said, it's not supposed to be that way. You need to lodge a ticket with the department and make sure that that everything's sort of unplugged and there aren't blockers in the way. The other thing to remember though is you do need to have you do need to have the infrastructure in place 100%. And if the infrastructure is not there, then it's not going to carry. But that being said, please reach out to one of your contacts is a lady by the name of Cindy Dennison from the department. And just make sure that everything's working the way that it needs to be. And if this is happening for you in Victoria, then you can reach out to Lauren Arkley from the department as well. Okay, but good point. Thanks for bringing it up. Okay, so looking at Minecraft, the thing about Minecraft is let's first stop and look at this whole sort of coding thing first, right? Because that's something that doesn't exist in the in the Xbox or the PlayStation version of Minecraft. We've actually built coding in. So you've got languages such as Tinker, Scratch, and MakeCode. We've also now got Python has come into Minecraft, and if that doesn't make any sense to you, don't worry about it. Just glaze over. It's all fine. But there are these multiple languages, right? And so what happens is you've got, as I said, the full Minecraft platform. But you've got this little character over here called the agent. And the agent is able to be coded by the student. And so you've got a split screen experience. And the student can start to code, and then they can execute their scripts and watch the agent run around. She can run around through the screen and do all the things that they've set it up. So they can try and fail, right? And they can also try and succeed. So instead of just coding, and it's all about design thinking and design process and that kind of thing. So instead of just coding, to create some sort of visual graphic or anything or something, they're actually coding things which are meaningful to the student, which is happening in the Minecraft world. So you can set your agent to go and plow fields, build houses, whatever it is that you do. Okay, so and then those block coding can move straight over to JavaScript, which is full type coding. As well. And so as the student advances, the coding language can become more complex as well. Now, the other thing that we've done is we've actually brought chemistry into Minecraft. It was great. A number of years ago, I was at a school and I was at a tech school, which was in the true sense, they were a technical school and they were, doing things like coding and stuff. And one of the guys said, "Oh, this is great, but it's not like you can teach chemistry in Minecraft." And if he'd said any other subject, they would have gone, "Yeah, okay, maybe." But he said chemistry, and it's like, well, actually, click, here's what you can do. So in terms of chemistry, you can, we've got what's called the element constructor. So you can set the number of protons, electrons, and neutrons inside the crafting. So the kids are used to this kind of stuff. And by the way, this has now gone into full version of Minecraft. It was into normal version of Minecraft. It was originally just in us, Education Edition. Now it's everywhere. So the kids know this. But you can set the number of protons, electrons, and neutrons and create an element and then use that in the Minecraft world. Okay. Then you've got the compound creator where you can take those elements, bring them together. So, 2 of hydrogen, 1 of oxygen, and you can create water and then be using that in the Minecraft world as well. What we've also got is we've got what's called a lab table where we can simulate experiments. So we can be taking our compounds and our elements, and we can be simulating chain reactions and those kinds of things. So if we're using expensive chemicals, we're using dangerous chemicals, you know, God forbid that the darlings would do experiments with real plutonium, they can do that in the Minecraft world. And this is where it goes high as SACE and VCE, because you can simulate experiments. So no one's suggesting that a whole unit of, you know, VCE chemistry is going to be taught in Minecraft, but there may be times where you're going to want to bring that out and let them experience to a point anyway. The other thing we've got is what's called a reducer table. So you can take objects from the Minecraft world and you can break them down to their compounds and to their elements, all right? So real science can not just be taught, but can be done in Minecraft. Now, I will actually just jump back a little bit and say that we've got lesson plans and worlds, etc., to be teaching much more than just chemistry, much more than just coding. All right, so this is sort of the STEM focus. But you know, you could get, for example, a French teacher got her students to build a French Renaissance village in Minecraft, right? The kids know how to play Minecraft, trust me. And they got in there and they built the mic. Now they could only chat in French and they could only verbalize when in the classroom in French at the same time as building this world, right? So she hit her cultural and historical outcomes for the unit as well as her linguistic outcomes. And she successfully did that, and she was a year nine French teacher. So please don't just see this as STEM, right? It's much broader than that. But I like this video here. I'm going to share this with you now because this is maybe what you're thinking, right? Which is what I think as well. Do I need to know how to play Minecraft to get this working with my kids? Now, when I got this job 4 years ago, he was still right into Minecraft. He still is now, and he's 16 years old, right? And he just plays secretly, doesn't tell all his friends. But he said to me, "Oh, Dad, that's fantastic. You've got this job with Microsoft because, you know, Microsoft own Mojang, who own Minecraft, and we can play Minecraft together." And I'm like, "Yes, son, we can. You know, we can play together all the time." Guess how many times I've played Minecraft with my son? Come off mute and have a guess.
Once.
Once is one too many. I have never played. I love my son. We do lots of stuff together, but I have never played Minecraft with my son. But you know why? Because I don't care. All right. I love him. I don't care about Minecraft. And there are two types of teachers. There's a spectrum really, but there's two types of teachers when it comes to Minecraft. There's the ones that get right in game. And I have colleagues that are like this. All right. They get right in game. They learn how to make it rain chickens and they do all this fun stuff. And the kids, you know, go, great. At the other end of the spectrum is people like me that really, I don't care to play Minecraft. I'm not interested in knowing how to play Minecraft, but I know its potential as a learning tool. And I want to be able to switch it on and facilitate the playing of Minecraft or the using of Minecraft as an education tool in my classroom. You can be both, or you can be somewhere in the middle, all right? But what I really want to stress is I don't want you to look at this and go, "Oh, this is just too hard." It's not. The kids will bring their knowledge of the game and then their understanding of the game. You bring the curriculum and the learning outcomes and match it up. All right. Anyway, let me show you this video first, and then we'll talk a little bit about how to do all that.
You don't have to be an expert at playing Minecraft. You don't have to be a gamer. A year ago, I didn't know how to place a block in Minecraft. I'm still not good, but my students are amazing. And as long as I can, you know, set the assignment, they're good to go.
Yeah, now we're going to play Minecraft. And I was so excited to play Minecraft in like one whole day. But make something that has to do with school at the same time.
For years and years, I've heard my students talking about the game they've been playing. I was first introduced to Minecraft last year, and I got over the fact that, you know, it doesn't matter that I'm not an expert at building, and I'm not a gamer. And once I learned that and I acknowledged that, I just got started. And, you know, haven't looked back since. I mean, they love it. They love that they can teach me stuff for once.
Yeah, I know a lot more than her. When she started, she wasn't that good at Minecraft, so she's already learned a lot. She has a lot to learn, like a lot.
For educators, it's always super hard to let go of control. The fact is, though, that that's when our students thrive and they love when we let go of control and when we meet them where they are. I really see there's a lot of communication, there's a lot of collaboration, there's a lot of critical thinking going on while they build in Minecraft.
I think it's easier to build it and understand it than write it on a paper and understand it.
When you want to get started with Minecraft in education, I would go to the Minecraft Education Edition website. There are a ton of resources, worlds, tutorials, mentors you can ask for help. There are lesson plans you can just grab and do in your classroom. And also joining the Minecraft community where a ton of teachers from all over the world can help you get started and tell you how to use Minecraft in the subject you teach.
I think you're muted, Troy.
I was talking to you guys forever. That's hilarious. Okay, so what I was saying is education.minecraft.net/Australia. Please feel free to open up that webpage. I have put it in the chat, education.minecraft.net/Australia. So this is the landing page for Minecraft. Minecraft is a dedicated app. So the students need to download the app onto their local devices, or someone needs to download it for them. But it is then a subscription product after that. So then they sign in using their schools.sa.edu or their schools.vic.edu email address. This page is, as I said, the Australian landing page. So getting started with Minecraft, you can do them training, but I'll come back up and share you all this in a minute. We have got an Australian curriculum pack. Okay, I won't pretend that it's extremely diverse and huge, but there is an Australian curriculum pack, Vic Curric, based on the Australian curriculum, so very, very similar. So you can download that, and we've mapped it back to some points in the Australian curriculum, and then you can download the starter kit as well. All right, and we also have Minecraft mentors. You can find them in Australia. So scroll through and have a look at that. We also, well, we didn't. Someone from the Education Department in Victoria built Mini Melbourne. And so there's an entire Minecraft Education Edition world for Melbourne in there as well. But coming back up to the top, I want to take you through the web page because there's quite a bit of stuff in here for you to explore, right? And for those of you that are counting down, we're going to finish at 12:30 South Australia time, 1 p.m. Melbourne time for lunch. All right, so just letting you know. So we've got less than half an hour. We've only got about 20 minutes left. So looking here, getting started. So you can click on that and you can download the app and all other information about getting started, etc. There's all the why behind Minecraft. So the education research and all that kind of stuff is all here in how it works, what it is and why it works, etc. Class resources, this is where it gets important for you. So setting it up for distance learning, if we, God help us, ever go back into lockdown again, that can be done. but also they could be, kids can be working outside of hours as well, right? There's training for you and for the students. Okay, so there's courses, some of them are linked back to the Microsoft Educator community, others are in other places. Got things like the Hour of Code. You may have heard of the Hour of Code. There's trainings in that. I'm going to sneeze, excuse me. Excuse me. Yeah, so there's training in there for you to access, and there's filters for the training as well. So you may just want to learn about coding, so you can go in and find those courses. You may want to learn about other aspects of Minecraft specifically for what you need. There are lesson plans as well. I am going to click on lesson plans and open that up for you. So we have, it's American, so there's subject kits, so language arts is literacy, history and culture, social studies, that kind of thing, math without the S. You can search the lessons. We've got featured lessons, but we've also got when you click on search the lessons, we've got a filter. So you can filter down and what grades are you teaching, what subjects are you looking for, etc. Right? So you can actually find specific lessons around what you're looking to do. Don't reinvent the wheel. The wheel has already been invented, right? So that's in class resources. Now you've also got worlds. Now the difference between Minecraft Worlds and Minecraft Education Edition Worlds, they are not the same. You'll get the kids that will come in and they'll say, well, I want to do this, and it's not the same, okay? So the worlds are like files, they're like doc files, all right, or like publisher files that they can be shared. They can be thrown in OneDrive, they can be thrown in Teams, they can be thrown on a USB, but the world libraries can be downloaded. And so you see some great stuff, like there's some great Maori, Indigenous Maori stuff. Someone has built the entire Fantastic Mr. Fox world inside Minecraft. You've also got other worlds, like people have built the Tang Dynasty, the Forbidden City and the Tang Dynasty, all kinds of stuff, right? So yeah, you don't have to recreate that, but you can find worlds, find lesson plans, and sometimes the worlds are linked to lesson plans, right? Sometimes they're standalone. But look at this one here, create your own museum. Right, so you think about that, like when I worked in the IBPYP, creating your own museum was something that we did a lot. So being able to do that inside Minecraft. And like that little boy said, I find it easier to build it and understand it than write it on a paper and understand it, right? So it's really that engagement of learning. It really is Lego inside the computer, but it's, it's much richer than Lego even. Anyway, I'll stop gushing. So yeah, there's Minecraft challenges, there's the Hour of Code, Earth Day, there's those Australian resources, etc. All right. We've also got a community, so you can connect with other teachers. So you can join this website, all right, sign in, and then you can connect with other teachers. And we also have mentors, right? So these are people that specifically have dedicated themselves and been selected by Microsoft that they are a specialist in some way in Minecraft. It might be early years literacy. It might be secondary science. It might be whatever. And there are all these different specialists. So you can find them and filter those as well. And you can find local people. You can find people around the world. There's quite a number of Australians, people in South Australia, people in Victoria as well. Because this is a paid service, there is very good dedicated support. So if you're having issues in your school, you don't need to go back to the department. You can go straight to the Minecraft team who can help you overcome some of these challenges. But if it does need to go to the department, it can go to them as well. But you can raise a ticket, for example, if it's not working. Things to remember is we want to have everybody on the same version. So we want to be downloading the same version, and we want to make sure that everyone is constantly updated as well so that they all can connect with each other. The way that it works is the students are only able to connect with each other if they are in the same tenant. So that means Victorian department kids can play with Victorian department kids, South Australian kids can play with South Australian department kids, but they can't connect, for example, with CathEd South Australia, it's a different tenant. They can't connect with the private school down the road, it's a different tenant. And they also, unless you open this up, they also can't play with each other at home. This can be opened up, but by default, they can't play with each other at home, which means that when they're in the school space, it's only when they're together in the same room that's at school or at someone else's house that they're able to connect with each other and play. All right. Otherwise, it's a solo experience. So again, when they're at school on the same network, on the same tenant, you can have 30 kids in a class at once, all right, in a world at once. But when they get home, they can't bully each other and all that kind of stuff, unless you want to open that up, and that's a department decision as well. You can also keep notes and download worlds and all bits and pieces, and that can all be sitting here in your classroom space as well. So that's Minecraft. Promise, amazing tool. You don't have to be great at it to use it. You just need to know how to use it. And part of the STP is we are offering 2 Minecraft days. I think they're in May. One is a West Australia timetable, one is an Eastern or Central timetable as well. So speak to whoever your STP coordinator is, whoever your connection person is. Your principal will know who that person is, and get yourself signed up for this if it's interesting for you. Does anyone have anything they want to share or any questions about Minecraft?
Troy, is there an age that you'd recommend kids starting Minecraft at school?
So they can go in reception/prep.
Yeah.
Right, because it can be played on the iPad, it can be played on the PC, it can be played on the Mac, it can be played on the Chromebook. There's nothing stopping the littlies really going in. And as a matter of fact, they're probably already doing it at home.
They are, but no, on the app version, it's 8+. That's why I just asked.
Yeah, the app version. That's talking about that's Apple's app. What's the word I'm looking for? Their age limit and everything for the app. Yeah. But for us, from Microsoft perspective, if they're managing it, they can go in as young as prep.
Excellent. All right, Ta.
Any other questions? We've got 15 minutes left. No?
Sorry, just a quick question. As to the little kids signing in to Minecraft, is there an easier way than them having to type their LearnLink password or username and password?
In essence, the answer to the question is no, until they are using the same device, and then the profile can remember them. So initially, if they're used, for example, when I go into Minecraft now on this device, because it's my device, it remembers my username and password. I don't have to put it in every time I log in. But if it's shared devices and they're having to sign out and sign back in every time, then yes, they have to do that.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, sorry, just before you throw your question in, the other thing about the LearnLink username and password is, from what I understand, I think it's not until grade 2 or grade 3 that their LearnLink username and password is assigned, but you can get a special dispensation to have it released. If you're wanting to use this stuff with your preps 1s and 2s, you can go to the department and they will release usernames and passwords for your classes. Okay, sorry, question?
That was my question. Thanks.
Okay, cool. There you go, read your mind. No other questions? Okay. So I'll give you a choice. We can take lunch now, and then come back 15 minutes early or 40 minutes early or whatever, or we can sort of plow through and take lunch in 15 minutes time. Now is a natural good time for a break, by the way, in terms of what I'm about to present. So why don't you throw your hands up if you'd like to have lunch now? Virtual hands, real hands. Okay, that's a max. We've already hit that. Okay, great. So let's take a break. What we'll do is I'll set the timer up, but we're going to have about half an hour, maybe even 40 minutes, but we'll see how we go. Yeah, actually, let's make it half an hour, right? And then we can all go home early. So let's take half an hour now, and I'll set the timer up on the screen, and I'll see you guys in basically 30 minutes from now. Ciao, everyone.